All right, good morning and welcome to Crossfire. My name is Dapo Banjo and I have with me running the show, as usual, Barrister Ishoma Againe.
Good morning and good morning, Nigerians, and you're welcome to the show.
Yeah, Ishoma, you're welcome to the show. Which Way Nigeria? That was a song sang by the late Sonny Okosun. And so when you begin to filter a lot of stories that are building around in Nigeria, then you keep wondering exactly where Nigeria is heading to. He actually said in that song, which way Nigeria, which way to go. I love my fatherland and I love to know which way Nigeria is growing. And that's exactly what we do on Crossfire. What exactly is happening in Nigeria? Who are the people who are the playmakers? Who are the people who are actually in control or the people who are losing control? And so we'll be bringing you a lot of trending stories this morning, and we will throw a lot of light on it just to help Nigerians know exactly what is happening in some sectors, as it were. Today, our focus will be on health, and we have a guest, but she's not here yet, but we're expecting her, and she'll be joining us in the course of the show. But right now, we're just going to be building up on some trending stories like we mentioned yesterday that will bring you updates on some certain areas, of information that we made available on the show yesterday. First on the list is to let you know that after a much ado about something that has to do with the that's Africa Independent Television, on which the president-elect actually said, don't cover all my activities until further notice. It was reversed yesterday, and it was based on so many information that are being passed across. And because the newly elected president is a very sensitive person, he was able to say, all right, let's go back on it. I don't mean to be, I don't mean to carry
suppress
or to
clamp down.
Yes, because considering his antecedents, Ishoma, it will look like, oh, okay, is this man coming in his power and majesty as a military administrator again, or as a military president again, clamping down on the activities of the press? But don't forget that.
But that was not what he was trying to do.
No,
he
wasn't.
Only trying to instill
any
discipline.
right-thinking Nigerian will know why Mr. Buhari has done, General Buhari has done that. It's not because he doesn't like the press. It's not because he hates AIT or he feels that AIT is pro. Is anti-APC. That's not the issue. It's just because over time, especially on the build-up of the elections on March the 28th, the activities and a lot of information that AIT carried, there's every possibility that they always want to carry the tweet side
many of them were
every story.
False, and imagine the number of lives.
And they've not done any public apology to the extent that NBC had to wade in and say, you have to just, stop playing all of these things. And now they went ahead and start playing, the reverse. They were the ones who actually came back and said, okay, Mr. Buhari actually has a certificate. Even though they went and said, okay, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do that. But, when we talk about the press, we're talking about power of information. We're talking about
the power of reshaping the mindset of
the people.
It's not about informations.
A lot of people think, the platform, both electronic and the print is basically to sell products and services. No, it's way beyond that. It is way beyond that. Anyway, we're really very happy that APC lifts embargo on AIT's coverage of General Buhari's activity, and that is to let people know that, hey, this amount of sensitivity being displayed by the incoming government is an indication that they are ready to listen to the agitation and the concerns of the people. Even though the general may have a very legitimate reason for wanting to clamp down on their activity. As it didn't say don't broadcast, it just simply said don't cover my activities. Right now don't cover my activities and all of that. And people said, okay, it's not.
It's understandable because it could also be inferred that they may also want to misquote some of the simple activities or things which you say there are tendencies that they could misquote it or present it in such
misrepresent it, and all of that.
Well,
which is trying to avoid. Okay, another very good story that we would like to take at this point is the queues are back. Ishoma, what kind of country is Nigeria?
We have an amazing country.
The queues are back.
On its path to greatness. But of course, these are some of the hitches we've been experiencing.
The queues are back.
You know, the grievances of the oil marketers are still there. We're still being owed as they've been clamoring. And then before the elections, we heard from some individuals, within the corridors of Power came out and said, no, we're not owing them. And then later on, when they saw that Nigerians were ready to investigate and find out the truth, and later these same individuals came out and said, okay, well, we are owing them, but not the amount of money they claimed. But the issue is you're still owing them. Why don't you pay them
See
off?
all the internal wars. Let's quickly take this story. President Goodluck Jonathan has ordered the coordinating minister for the economy and minister of finance, that's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to raise surveying debt notes, SDNs, and pay part of the 215 billion backlog of interest and foreign exchange differentials on fuel subsidy. He said, which the government holds oil importers. He acknowledged the fact that they are owing them. Hold on. The president, a source told yesterday, decided to intervene to ease the lingering nationwide fuel scarcity, which again, seeped into Lagos last week following, the recommendation of the DSS saying that, the national the Association of Marketers, that's MOMAN, Mr. Thomas Olawore, after he threatened at a press conference last Friday that members of his association would freeze fuel importation, due to a total, of this same amount being owed. And I don't see any reason why, very close to the handover. I kept on saying it on this show, Ishoma,
you know why they're doing this
that
now?
The newly elected president is going to inherit enough problems that likely, I don't want to say will, that likely may distract him completely away from the work,
I understand the agitations of these oil marketers and importers, because they understand that once May 29th comes, who are you going to hold accountable to pay you back? When the government you had the transaction and the business deal with has left office.
Because the newly elected will be like, okay, I just came into office, give me room to investigate into this matter. But this is a problem that the current government has been sitting on. Can't they just go ahead and solve this problem? Some part of this money, 215 billion, is in the pocket of a few Nigerians who have been part of his government. That is the truth.
The core issue is from 2012 up till date. If we had been able to put this money and all other monies, humongous money spent in importing fuel, the same product which we export, and then we still buy at such exorbitant rates, if this amount of money were put into fixing our refineries and building the refineries which Mr. President promised Nigerians, do you think we'll be having some of these issues today?
We definitely will not. You see, the problem, maybe not a problem, the challenge that I have, is that when you have a government that is totally insensitive to the needs of the people, to the yearnings of the populace.
So you now agree that
it's becoming more obvious than ever.
Before now, we used to argue about that.
Yes, more obvious than ever. because I try as much as possible not to speak evil of government. I don't mean evil, but I simply means that I try to to create a leeway for the government, exactly for the benefit of the doubt. But when you are confronted with information right now that is pointing to the fact that, you have a very weak government, you have an insensitive government, you have a government who does not at any point in time put the people first, then there's a major problem, there's a major crisis in our hands. And that is what we have today. If the oil, importers do not down tool, the government will yet not take any decision as to help facilitate this payment. And I don't think it's going to be paid in total. That means if they pay a part of it now, before handover, the oil importers are going to come back again because they want their money.
Very true.
And for me, if I were to be one of them, we want these monies paid before handover. So even if he pays 100 billion today, and they have an outstanding 115 billion still left, this money needs to be paid before handover. At the end of the day,
those who will suffer the brunt of this will be Nigerians.
Yes, because do you know people suffered yesterday? People were stranded. And the
price fares, the transportation
exactly.
fares, and because now you power your own generators, you power, you generate your own electricity.
It trickles, it has a ripple effect.
You need fuel.
What I observed yesterday when I was driving home? Nice. I saw bus conductors, guiding the front, the entrance into the buses. And many of them, a distance that ordinarily would have cost 100 naira or 150 naira, they guarded the entrance of their buses and they brought out a 500 naira note saying, see, in case you are deaf and you cannot hear 500, you could do 500, you could do 500. See, if at least you can see. For you to be at the bus stop, you can see. So you will see the exact amount the conductor wants you to pay if you are coming into that bus. So it's not story. Once you find yourself into that bus, you are paying 350 naira extra on a journey that you likely would have paid maybe 100 naira on a good day during the day. Maybe evening time because of traffic, they take it for 150 naira. So that's what we have today, and that is very, very, serious. People were stranded, mothers, children, fathers, people who wants to go and, reunite back with their families were kept on the road for and people started working. Nigerians were so resilient to the extent that, we adjust very quickly to things that should not even be.
At this point in time, it's shocking, it's painful also that, in 2015, a nation like Nigeria will still be having these issues, will still be complaining about some basic necessities which ordinarily should have been coming the ways of Nigerians effortlessly. But now, I think at this point, permit me to use this opportunity to call on well-meaning Nigerians, probably also the Lagos State government and all other companies, in their goodwill to also help provide probably free transportation, buses. I know this organization, they do it also. Provide, free transportation for individuals, probably like just park, along a major bus stop, so they could also help conveying. Because imagine a family, a father, for example,
I don't see anywhere that is done anywhere in the world.
500 naira.
I don't see anywhere that is done in the world.
No, we're not talking about you going back home, and that would definitely not take you to your home. And at the end of the day,
Lagos State government has staff buses for workers.
We're not talking about for workers, for individuals. It could be probably like 5 minutes, or a particular time frame. If you're lucky and you get there and you meet the free bus and you take it.
Anyway, there's nothing we want in Nigeria that we cannot get. Let me tell you how much a problem is looming. A lot.
So much.
Now, the oil importers' issues are there. Unpaid salaries are there. And workers are planning to down tool, and they're telling the president, or the president addressing this to the government of the day, pay our outstanding before handover, or face a major labor strike, and all of that. That is there. We have the energy problem, is still there. We have corruption problem, is still there. So tell me which economy, which part of Nigeria economy is sustainable or is moving or is working as we speak. This country is paralyzed. Sincerely, when I say paralyzed, I simply means, sitting down somewhere. You can still see, you can still hear, you can still think, you can still do a lot of things, but you cannot move. That is the economy that we have. It's a paralyzed economy. The agri sector, we can't see any significant growth. The oil sector is languishing in a lot of debts and all of that. The insecurity is there. We don't have a solution at sight. And that takes us to our next story. In Chibok, the cheaper girls we expect, have been rescued. 200, young girls and about 93, women were rescued yesterday in Sambisa.
It has to be verified that those are the cheaper girls.
One of the people who escaped, told us that that the cheaper girls are actually kept in a place in Woza, that they are actually not in Sambisa. You understand? That they are kept in a particular place, heavily guarded. So, for me, out of the 200 people that have been, delivered, and the 93 women that have been, rescued also, we possibly... It's a developing story. That's why we're not hitting it so hard.
But so far, the military, they have not been able to identify.
No, they said they are profiling them. So let us see how many of them are Chibok girls.
But my issue is, the 93 women who were kidnapped also, nobody knew about this up until now.
Oh, of course.
There wasn't any...
They probably have been assumed dead by other family members since they can't find them.
The issue is, for example, I remember when, NCC came up and said every individual, you need to register your SIM, your whole SIM registration.
Yeah.
You give them your profile, your data, and all of that. My issue is it that we cannot have a data bank in Nigeria with the names, the addresses, the age, the gender of every individual living in this nation, and also children also? Is it possible that they cannot work with these telecommunications agencies to having the accurate data? So even if one person is missing, you'll be able to tell so and so person lived. Is it possible
now,
that we do not know the
we have
number
had
of
cases,
people, the names of people,
no,
the data of people living in this nation?
You see why it cannot work?
This is terrible.
You know why it cannot work?
Let me say this
to
all
you.
other countries. It works in other African countries.
Now, let me say
why
this.
can't it work in Nigeria? And
we don't have a proper database.
Claim that we are the giants of Africa.
It's a facade. It's a facade. And don't forget, we don't have a proper database in Nigeria. There have been loads of bombings that we do not. No forensic exercise has been carried out to identify the bodies, the mutilated bodies.
You cannot tell the cause of the individual's death.
The last time we had a plane crash, and bodies were being taken out of the Bond's bodies and everything. They were all sent to South Africa for proper forensic to be able to identify them.
To send them to another part of the continent.
That's the kind of country we have. So you tell me, Ishama, if this country is working. You tell me if Nigeria is actually surveying as is being announced and is being well spoken of. You tell me that you and I have how will I put it? You and I have a reason to be happy that we're Nigerians.
No, of course, because by God's grace, come May 29th, we expect something new.
I mean, it's just very sad. It's just really very sad. Now, we are not very sure that the Chibok girls have been rescued. We're not very sure that the Chibok girls have been rescued. So the only thing we can do right now is to probably look at...
Fingers crossed and then see, what next comes up.
Anyway, let's see what comes up. I mean, that's why I don't want us to dwell so much, on this. When we come back, we probably will build on some other stories. All right, we'll go on a short break now, and then when we come back, we will be talking about a very sensitive issue, and then you just want to be part of that. We'll be right back.